about to change gears a little bit. When I say hello, I kind of expect something back, so I'm just going to say it again. Hello. Oh, thank you for the encouragement. So we're the slot before lunch, and DEI can be quite a divisive subject. It shouldn't be, but it is. And I know because you told me last night when you had a drink, I won't hold it against you. But it's divisive because it makes us a little bit uncomfortable. It's like, what are people going to say? We've got a panel today. What are they going to say? Who is going to be offended? If they say something, should you laugh? Are you going to offend someone? And doing DI work can be quite scary. It's very difficult to get it right. Because when you talk about one topic, you get criticism that, oh, you didn't address that topic, or something wasn't said right, or somebody's going to be offended. And so it takes a certain courage and passion and belief in the change that we want to make to talk about DEI. And so I want to take my hats off to Encircle and everyone who's put themselves forward to be vulnerable and to take on this risk of being criticized for having these difficult conversations. And I understand why it makes you uncomfortable, because sometimes it makes me uncomfortable too. And the truth is, sometimes I don't like it. I don't like it. But the reason I do it is because I don't want my children's children to have to do it. I want DEI to be like good manners, you know? Can you imagine how outraged you would be if we had a panel talking about how to say good morning, or thank you, or excuse me? That is so embedded in us and embedded in who we are and what we do and in our behaviors, in our value system. But we're not there with DEI. Until we get there, we have to have these difficult conversations. Until DEI becomes like good manners, so embedded in our policies and our processes and just the way how we behave with each other, we have to. So we know that we are the people separating you from your lunch, and we're not going to take too long today. So today, I want to introduce our panel. I am going to do something different and ask you to introduce yourselves instead of me introducing you. And then I'll tell you a little bit about the topic that we're going to talk about. So I'm going to start with you, Viv.
Hi. I'm Viv Williamson. I'm a client director here at Trustmark, and I chair the Encircle Employee Network, and I'll pass on to Georgia.
Thanks, Viv. I'm Georgia Litwin. I'm very new into Trustmark, so I think it's my 2-month anniversary now. And I'm a client manager in the Central Gov team, and I also sit on the events team for Encircle.
Thank you. I've lost my voice a little bit, so I'm sorry. So I'm Heather Perriam, and I'm a solution architect in business applications. I've been with Trustmark for 2 years, and I currently co-chair the policy committee for Encircle.
Hi, Stuart Daly. Bit croaky as well after last night. As Simon refers to me, probably Chief Other Officer. So most things that don't fit in HR, finance, sales, or delivery fit within business enablement. Also, absolutely delighted to have been invited to be a co-sponsor with Marsha of the Encircle. I'll call it Team Foundation. Just phenomenal the work that's been done. So one more round of applause, please, for everyone that's been involved in it so far.
Well, to follow that up, my name is Kelsey Chambers. I work on the Livingstone side of the house. I'm a customer success director over in the U.S. And yeah, I'm happy to be here. Couple flights, but it's great to be here.
I do a lot of Glodder and the Services Director for Trustmark, and was invited to join Encircle some months back by Marsha, and it's been incredible journey since then.
Thank you all. So today we're going to be talking about belonging. Someone who is way more clever than I am said diversity sits over here. It's over here. It's about the things that make us different. It's about your age, your sex, your sexuality, your religion, your race. It's about representation. It's about inviting different people to the party. So we're just going to leave diversity over here. And over here, a little bit further out, we have inclusion. You're now at the party, but are you comfortable to dance? Inclusion is when you're comfortable enough to dance. And then right next to inclusion, we have belonging. They kind of rub shoulders, you know? And belonging is when you're at the party and you dance like no one is watching, even though you know you're being watched because you're turning up as your whole self. And that is the culture that we want to create at Trustmark, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm going to ask Stuart, what does belonging mean to you?
I'll build on something Wes said when he introduced us, which is being able to be yourself, turn up as yourself, not feel like you need to act or operate in a certain way to impress people or otherwise. But I wanted to go back a little bit and just a personal story for me. Around about 2 years ago, the company I was working for built its equivalent to Encircle, but actually had created additional groups. And one of the groups was looking at fertility. And I got asked, would I do a particular slot to talk about my own personal experience with fertility? Most of you that know me know I'm quite a private person, but actually being able to talk to 100 people about my own experience with fertility, for me that's belonging, feeling comfortable to be able to do that.
Brilliant. And Georgia?
Thanks, Marsha. Yeah, I'm going to build on what Stuart said, and I think there's sort of 3 factors that encompass belonging for me. The first one is that comfort, being comfortable to sort of bring your true self to work. And the second 2 that I think are equally important is being accommodated and being encouraged. Now, accommodated is really prevalent because, for those that aren't aware, it's Disability Pride Month next month. But essentially that means knowing you're in an environment that doesn't inhibit you regardless of your ability. And not just that it doesn't inhibit you, but it actively supports you and makes those accommodations. And then encouraged is a sense of the people that you work with should be enabling you to speak up and ask for what you need to bring your best self to work. So I think, yeah, it's a combination of the 3.
Brilliant, thank you. So when we got together to, put an employee resource group together, one of the things that we said is that we didn't want to be a tick box exercise. And, we talked about fostering a culture of belonging, and that is at the heart of Encircle's mission. What sort of things have Encircle achieved in the last few months that's sort of building on that mission? Viv, I'm going to ask you.
I think Encircle, we've only been going a few months as an employee network. The launch was only February this year. And something that came across from some of the feedback from people at Trustmark was they didn't really understand kind of what's DEI got to do with them. So we decided to go very much like looking at our colleagues and their personal stories, their personal experience of some of the things that Marsha spoke about in the introduction. And as such, we've had people tell us about their religious experience and what their different celebrations mean to them and how we can support them at work. We've had people share very personal things about their mental health, about some of the other things that have happened at work about neurodiversity and disability. And we've done this in a way that's both in terms of kind of some virtual events, but also a lot of communications on newsletters and through Viva Engage, so that we can kind of really open it up to anyone who feels that they've got something around diversity and inclusion that they want to raise with colleagues, that they can come and their voice can be heard. We really want to be a platform where everyone in the organisation feels that their voice is heard. And I think that in the backbone that people aren't aware of necessarily about Encircle is we're also looking at policies and initiatives to make sure that everyone's safe at work and everyone, like, we're fully protected with those policies, working very closely with Marsha and her team on that. But we found people across the business have come to us and raised things that they'd like us to look at in terms of, the first one we're really looking at right now is around some of the parental and maternity policy. And it's like having that opportunity for people to come and say, hey, we'd really like the business to review this, but we're not really sure who to ask. I think it's really important for Encircle to enable that for everyone.
Brilliant, thank you. And Heather, what's been the highlights for you?
I'm going to try to make my voice be heard. But I think it's not just, it's so important, and people have been so forthcoming with their own individual stories. But what's come along with that is how we can support each other in the workplace. And so when we know Heather has ADHD, it's important that my line manager knows these are the things that I can provide for her to be successful. And this is the way I can leverage her neurodiversity to improve our business, right? And it's really, it's important for us in Encircle to understand that rather than dividing us or say what makes us different. I don't feel identified by ADHD. I feel like Heather's got these great attributes, and here's how we can support her so that she's successful in the environment. And so if we continue to help each other understand that, when we hear about like Ramadan and how we can support our colleagues through this experience, or hear about other cultural experiences, disabilities, stuff like that, and how we can help each other be successful. And I think Encircle's doing that through sharing our own stories and encouraging others to do the same.
Brilliant, thank you. And Ade?
So I guess it comes, there are two parts to belonging. So one is how you feel about yourself, and different people have different levels of confidence, different people feel differently at work, some people suffer from imposter syndrome. So there's already that level of belonging that people carry around with them, how they feel in the environment. The second part to that is how we make other people feel. And that is the core aspect of belonging. How we make other people feel as part of the group, how we relate to them, etc. And the critical part of that is awareness. Awareness that differences are not necessarily bad. There are differences that are obvious, pigmentation, disability. There are differences that are not so obvious, neurodiversity, and so on and so forth. And we've all loosely used phrases like, oh yeah, that fellow's a can't show a six-pack, and other such things. Now, I'll be completely honest, sometimes they can't show a six-pack. Sometimes they actually cray-cray, but not in all instances. And it's having an understanding that people might be different to us, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, and giving little bits of allowance. And some of the things that we've done in Encircle around, Stuart touched on it. Like Stuart, I'm a very private person, so some of you remember the video session where I talked about lived experiences. It was a very personal thing for me. It was a very vulnerable thing to do because I don't do that kind of thing. But I think those things are really important because it shows that even though we all share the same spaces, our lived experiences might be completely different because of our skin color, because of a disability, because of the way we're slightly neurodiverse from other people, etc. And I think that awareness and understanding is, for me, at the core of educating each and every one of ourselves to understand differences are not always bad.
Good. Sometimes there are blockers in the workplace that stops us from showing up as ourselves. I would like you to share with me any blockers that you've faced in the workplace and how can we overcome those barriers. I'm going to ask Kelsey.
Thank you, Marcia. For me, I had to think long and hard about this answer because, as my husband will tell you, I'm an independent woman, so I don't like to admit that I have blockers. But as I thought about the experiences I've had with all many career choices that I've been through, I think the biggest one has been communication. So I'm an oversharer, you guys may know. But when I think about communication, it's more than just the 50 messages we receive a day on our Teams or our emails. It's having, like Addie mentioned and others, that vulnerability to really speak up and express what you need. And it's a two-way street. So also being receptive to others coming to either as a colleague or an advocate and saying, you know, I'm really struggling with this. Can you help me with this? Or maybe you need a different tool that is just a little bit different to fit your circumstances. So for me, I have ADHD, as you guys may be aware from my vulnerable session before. And ADHD, I like to think of it like flavors. You know, I have a different flavor. Everybody has different things that they deal with. So for me, when I think about sort of the different flavors, just because you got a cut on your leg doesn't mean a Band-Aid's gonna work. Some people might need stitches, some people might need a wrap, you might need antibiotics. The treatment or your circumstances are gonna be very different, and how you go forward with that may be different. And even if it's exactly the same, as Addie mentioned, say we have the same scenario, what works for him may not work for me. So being able to have that communication barrier open, having managers who are open to listen and provide advice and suggestions, and have that two-way street's important just as much as it is with colleagues. And so communication on this larger part is really great, but I'd encourage everybody to really get into that nitty-gritty. We're communicating all the time now with so many different ways, but connecting through communication and listening and being empathetic is really important.
Absolutely. That connection and communication definitely can remove some of those blockers. Ade, do you want to share with us any blockers you faced and how we can overcome those at work?
Oh, I think mine's easy. So I'm very direct, and I can almost hear people nodding and chuckling to themselves, people who know me, when I say that. I don't exactly speak in whispers. So I'm sort of loud, essentially. And I've been made aware of that all through my career. And part of that's cultural. I'm Nigerian, so we're not exactly known for being, shy or shrinking violets, if you know what I mean. So, but what that means is it's always there at the back of my mind when I'm engaged in conversation. Or am I being too direct? Will they receive it in a different way? Will they think I'm being aggressive? Will they think I'm being confrontational? Am I being too loud? Do I need to lower? And it's always there, constantly, in the back of my, because it's always been pointed out to me. And while I accept that, I also have a responsibility to temper those things, and I don't want to use the word fit in, or the phrase fit in, but while I get that, I also have a responsibility to do that, but at the same time, it's also a blocker, because you can't completely express the way you want to, the way you'd naturally want to. So for me, it's very, very easy, and I'm sure there'll be other people here who it might not be the fact that they're direct, there'll be similar things that you're aware of. That means you're always constantly thinking about it or doing things in a different way.
Yeah. That's interesting, because belonging is actually the opposite of fitting in. And a lot of times when we go somewhere, especially somewhere new to work, we sort of look around and we see how are people behaving, what are they doing, and we try to change ourselves to fit into that. And what we're saying is that at Trustmark, we want to not encourage everyone to fit in, but people to be themselves.
Exactly that.
To remove some of those blockers.
Yeah.
So what can we expect from Encircle for the rest of 2024 and into 2025? I'm going to go to you, Georgia.
Lots of events, I think, is the answer. And I say that with a bias because I work on the events team. But yeah, we've got lots of really exciting events planned that are aligned to the inclusive calendar, so that we can all learn more, I think, is the key about people's lived experience. And it's something I'm really passionate about, is moving from sort of unconscious bias in the sense of being unconsciously unconscious, where you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what accommodations people need and what other people's lived experiences are. But through these events, moving to a place of conscious unconsciousness, and hopefully eventually just a lot more consciousness about what other people need and what other people live through.
Okay. And Viv?
Yeah, brilliant. I think lots of events and lots of communications from the Encircle team is what we're all about. Something that happened when I joined Trustmark about a month in, we had a meeting with the ELT with all the new starters. And I asked everyone in the ELT, what are they proud of? What are they proud of looking forward to in the year that was coming up? And something that Wes said that really stuck with me is he's really, really proud of his team and what Trustmark are doing, what we're doing around social value into our customers. But he doesn't hear about it enough. He doesn't hear everyone in the group saying they're proud of that too. And he wants the whole industry to be shouting about it. And I think for me, it's the same with Encircle. We've only been going a few months, but I'd really like to get to a stage where every single person in the organisation is proud of how much we support each other as colleagues and how much we kind of mentor and support the people in our teams around us who might be feeling like they may not have the greatest sense of belonging, and that we encourage each other to be really safe people so that anyone can come to us at any time with anything they need. So for me, I think we're, as Georgia said, a lot of events, we're hoping to take some of those externally with partners and so on as well. But I'd like to get to the stage where the industry can really shout and say, Trustmark are really the place to be because we do all feel that sense of belonging.
Amazing. I love that. I love that. And Stuart, as co-sponsor, how do you think Encircle will influence, building the culture of belonging for the rest of the year and going into 2025?
Sure. I'm going to use a bit of a cliche, it's a journey. I think this year has been about launch, awareness, getting buy-in, and don't underestimate how hard that is to do. And it's the great work of everyone here and those on the stage that have actually given us that spark to start with. Getting that momentum going is super important, so the events sort of play to that as well. If we kind of look into the future, sort of being a metrics person, I want us to be looking back in a few years' time where actually we have achieved the metrics we set ourselves, whether that's diversity targets, whether it's inclusivity surveys, whatever measure we take and we agree on. For me, the best businesses are the ones that are both diverse and inclusive. And actually sort of being able to kind of talk about that publicly. Again, just humor me with kind of the kind of an anecdote. So I've seen the double win that comes to a business from being diverse, i.e. going out to different recruitment platforms. So I think Gareth may be in the audience. Something that Gareth and I worked on previously was actually getting an arrangement with my G-Work. Bringing in talent that exists in the IT sector but may not come forwards because they feel that they can't because they are part of an LGBTQ community and that therefore they feel like they can't make the leap into the IT sector for kind of reasons. Looking at those different platforms, different ways of bringing people in, I see that sort of being part of that journey, that we move from kind of the awareness phase and kind of buy-in and commitment to sort of driving those kind of key tangible metrics, because it will yield much better business results as well.
Brilliant. Thank you. I'm definitely looking forward to that and all the progress that we will make. But there's something else that I want to ask. We're doing all of this and, there is a lot of work to be done. What other topics or what other areas do you think we're not talking about enough or not focusing on enough that we need to really give a bit more focus? I'm going to ask you, Heather.
It may be a little obvious, but our physical disabilities and our accessibility, and how when we do an event like Fusion, how we can accommodate everybody so that they're able to fully participate and not feel. When you have a physical disability, sometimes you can feel like you're a burden and you're putting people out, and we can make it really difficult for people to ask for the things they need, right? And so I think it's an important topic that we start talking about, and just general accessibility all around, right? And then, really focusing on that when we have a great idea, thinking about when we collaborate, the more inclusiveness and diversity we get in that collaboration, we'll be able to see things that we didn't consider before, right? And we talk about it in AI, we talk about it in the technology that we're doing. So we need to do it at home too when we're arranging these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think since lockdown and we're remote, it's probably not in our consciousness as much as it should be, physical disability, and we definitely need to bring it back. Thank you. So, I am so proud of what we've achieved at Trustmark so far, and I really like that I haven't spoken to anyone who is not willing to, who is not happy about the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. And last night when I was talking to people and they go, are you speaking tomorrow? And I said, yes, I'm doing the DI session. What people were saying to me, there was nobody that was saying to me that they were uncomfortable with the outcomes. They're uncomfortable with the conversation. And I just want to encourage you to get involved, to join the conversation, however difficult it is and however uncomfortable it is. Again, I do want our children's children to be outraged that we had a gender pay gap. I want them to be outraged that we had these panels talking about belonging. And for us to get there, there is some work that we have to do, and that work will sometimes be uncomfortable. Think of it as surgery. There's pain and all of that, but you get to an end point where you'll be better and healthier. So thank you, panel. I'm just going to leave it there, and I want to thank you again, all the Encircle team, for being brave and for participating. We do have a little activity for you, so I'm going to invite Meg to come up and give some instructions. Meg and Charles.
And Charles.
Sorry, Charles.
Right. Hi, everyone. Lovely to be here. Thanks for inviting us on. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Meg Tolliard. I head up our L&D team, but also delighted to be part of the Encircle network. I'm also joined by Charles.
Hello, everybody. For those who don't know me, I'm Charles.
Thanks. Oh, brilliant. Cool. I might just move a little bit down. I'll come stand by you, Adi, if that's okay. Thinking about a culture of belonging, thinking about how we build a culture of belonging and inclusion, it's really, really important for us as employees to feel valued and connected. And we talk about belonging, we talk about inclusion. We've heard some really great points from the panel today. But our ask is actually to get you all to think about, what is your role? We're all accountable for cultivating a culture of belonging. We all have a part to play for building a culture of inclusion. And small actions really do have a large impact. So if I think about my career, if I think about the journey I've been on, I've been invited to conversations, so I've been invited to the party, basically. But also, I felt like I've had that opportunity to dance and no one's watching. And what I mean by that is, yes, being invited into meetings potentially when I'm more junior in my career, but actually being asked to share my input. What's your opinion of this, Meg? What are your thoughts? And actually feeling that I belonged in that room, but I was also making contributions. Charles, have you had some experiences along your way?
Yeah, and thank you, Meg. When Meg asked me to do this, I thought, oh no. But that was for two reasons. That was for, one, there's lots of people here, and it's quite scary. And two, because I wanted to get it right, and I think I overthought it. So I hopped onto ChatGPT and prompted it a few times and changed the Zs to the Ss. And then I got here today and I realised, actually, no, I probably don't even need to go off that script that I hadn't even written myself. Somebody else had somewhere. This is because after I shared my story, I had so many people come up to me and relate with me and say, thank you, you've actually made me feel comfortable, as Wes alluded to earlier. And just yesterday, actually, I had somebody come over to me, shake my hand, and they said, you don't have to worry, I understand. And this is somebody who is a leader within the business and is going to be instrumental to my career going on. And it's just little things like that that are within the business help people like me, like yourselves, and it gives you that feeling of belonging that's been alluded to quite a few times today, and feeling comfortable in your skin within the business and being able to be yourself as well. So I think now we're going to do a little activity. I'll let Megan carry on.
Cool, thanks, Charles. So it's over to you all. Let's just go next slide. In your tables, we want you to have a discussion around what are some commitments you can think of to help promote inclusion and belonging at Trustmark Group. So we'll give you about 5 to 6 minutes to discuss in your groups. We then want you to think about one commitment you can make. And once you've narrowed your commitment down to that one, please do then log on to the Mentimeter, and we're going to capture it all on a word cloud. So I'm going to be quite direct here. I can see phones are out already. Discussion first, and then Menti, please. So yeah, over to you all. What is your commitment to help promote inclusion and belonging at Trustmark Group?